Hey, sure, band is a business. I'm Cornelis, and this is my weekly update. I have a lot to talk about this week, so I'm going to talk about how I'm preparing for my next single launch, which is happening on Wednesday. I'm going to talk about what I learned from going to a music festival over the weekend. I'm going to talk about my experiences busking in central London, and I'm going to talk about how I'm preparing for my next band gig. Anyway, lots to talk about, so I will jump straight into it. So yeah, my next single is coming out on Wednesday. Now I know that traditionally in the music industry, new music is released on Fridays, but I'm a bit of a contrarian, so when everyone is zigging, I like to zag. I do understand why music is released on Fridays. It's because back in the day, record companies wanted to give themselves the longest possible time window to accrue sales so that their acts, their signed acts, would appear as high as possible on the charts. And this tradition has carried over into the age of streaming. There are streaming charts, of course, and charts that combine streaming and sales figures. And this is useful for industry people to see how well their marketing is doing and how well their artists are doing compared to other signed acts. So I understand why it's done. But yeah, the way I think about it is, well, if everyone is releasing their music on Friday, including independent artists, then there's going to be a lot of social media activity about new music that's out. And the way that I think about it is, well, I should then release my music on a different day because then I will have a greater chance of being noticed and being heard. Now, I have my own reasons for releasing music on Wednesdays that are particular to me, but they might not be relevant to you. You might think that a different day is better to release music, or you might stick with the industry standard and release your music on Fridays. All I would say is that it's sometimes useful to think about, question traditions, because traditions come about under particular circumstances, under particular cultural circumstances or technological circumstances, and those circumstances might change and they might not be relevant anymore or not relevant to your particular situation. So yeah, it's always good, no matter what field or industry you are in. It's good to sometimes question traditions, and that's why I release singles. For example, I don't release EPs or albums, but I have friends that release albums. I have friends that release double albums, and yeah, just take whatever I say with a grain of salt. I'm just a small independent artist after all. Okay, what else? I went to a festival over the weekend. I went to the Wide Awake Festival, which you could describe as a alternative music festival. It was guitar centric, but by no means only guitar bands were there. To give you an idea of what kind of music was there, it was headlined by King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. Other acts included Slowdive, Young Fathers, Squid, kind of alternative rock, alternative indie pop music, that kind of general music, those kinds of genres. Now, something that I noticed is that a lot of the acts had extended instrumental sections, and I don't know if that is reflected in the recorded music or if that is particular to the live performance. I know that King Gizzard, obviously, they a lot of their songs are quite long and have extended instrumental sections, but some of the people in the crowd were saying that some of the songs or the music that they were playing consisted of medleys where they quoted some of their other songs. So they brought in melodic themes from other songs. I really enjoyed the set of King Gizzard, but I'm not a hardcore fan, so I don't know their back catalog inside and out. So I would not know if, oh, okay, this melody that is being played on the guitar is actually from a different song, or I would have no idea about that. But yeah, their songs are not 3 minute pop songs. They are longer songs with extended instrumental sections. I don't know if they're improvising, but there's definitely kind of a jam band or instrumental instrumentally focused aspect to their music. And I noticed that this was the case for many of the artists, the bands that were performing at this festival. And I wonder if this is a a trend that is happening in the wider alternative music sphere, as it were. I wonder if this is partially down to the resurgence of post-punk as a kind of influence. A lot of post-punk music from the 70s and 80s had extended instrumental sections. Just think about some of the famous Talking Heads concerts, especially I think it's called Stop Making Sense, which is the famous one, which has extended instrumental sections which feel like jams. I don't know if they're real spontaneous improvised jams, but they are definitely extended instrumental sections. Anyway, that's something I picked up from a lot of the acts that I saw, at least. And yeah, not a lot of the bands and artists had music, were playing music that didn't really fit the traditional pop song structure of verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, right? Um, and to tie it into what I was talking about earlier with my bio, my next song has some of that post-punk influence, and that's something that I tried to highlight in the bio. But as I said, I will go into that deeper in the other video that I will make about that. But anyway, that's something that I picked up from the acts that I saw at the Wide Awake Festival. Let me know if you were there, by the way, and let me know if there were any artists that you enjoyed in particular. Okay, so I'm also preparing for my next gig with the band, which is happening on the 14th of June at the Stag's Head in Hoxton here in London. So if you are in London, please come along. You can get tickets by going to my Instagram and following the link in the bio there. And yeah, come along because I it's all about making new fans and new friends at the live show. So I'm really looking forward to that because the last time I played a gig with the band, I think it was back in February, and it's been really hard to get everyone free and available at the same time. I've spoken about that in some previous videos about the challenge of finding a venue and a date that everybody can do and is free and available for. But yeah, I finally managed to get it together. So it's the first. It's great to have a gig at the start of the summer, and maybe I can organize something for the middle and end of the summer as well. So in preparations for that, I've had to compose or create or write some new guitar parts for some of the songs because some of the songs that I've released only really contain one main guitar part, but in the band there is a second guitar player. And okay, some of the songs have a second guitar part, what you could potentially call lead guitar parts. So right, he can play those, right? But some songs it's just one guitar, and the recording didn't really feel like it needed any other guitar parts. But obviously I don't want him to just stand around not being able to play anything for some songs. So that means that I've had to write some extra guitar parts, and that's what I've been doing in preparation for the next gig. And yeah, it's not always easy because when you feel that a song is really has its final form, it's hard to then come back and think about, okay, how can I add to it? And there's also a bit of anxiety, I'm not going to lie, because part of me is also afraid that I will actually come up with some good parts and then I will think, oh, those should have been in the recording, and then I'll feel a bit weird about that. But maybe that's just something I should lean into because the tagline that I have for myself, after all, is true stories plus living music, and maybe I can just frame that as part of the living music aspect of myself as an artist. But yeah, I do have that slight anxiety of what if I come up with something really good and then I will regret not including that in the actual released music, as it were. Anyway, the final thing I want to talk about is how I went busking with a friend in central London. Now, I have not been busking very often, but last year I did buy a an amp that is battery powered, so that means I can put my guitar through there as well as a microphone. We were walking around central London near Tottenham Court Road, for those of you that know London. And there's a place just outside Tottenham Court Road station where you will often find musicians performing. And indeed, when we arrived there, there was another act. So we decided to go somewhere else nearby to see if we could perform. And the first spot that we found, we actually were asked to move on. It's funny because there were these how do you say, these pillars, and to me it, it looked like, okay, on one side of the pillars is probably private property, but if we're on the other side it should be okay. But it was not the case. Some security guards, they came over and said, oh, this is also private property. They were nice about it, and we didn't put up a big fight about it because, you know, don't get me wrong, there is an argument that we can have, and we can talk about this idea of private spaces within a city, and is that a good thing or not. That's definitely a conversation that we can have, but it's not an argument I wanted to have right there, then and there. And we decided just to go on the other side of the street, which is right next to another exit of Tottenham Court Road station. I wasn't in the mood to have a big argument about, what is private and public spaces in London. That's not what I was there for. Anyway, my friend and I went to the other side of the street, which was a good spot as well, and we set up and we started playing some songs. Now, the thing is, I'm not quite prepared for several hours of busking. I know my own songs and I know a couple of covers, but I quickly had to recycle a couple of times. Now, obviously, it doesn't really matter because there's foot traffic and very few people, if anybody, is just standing there for more than half an hour just listening to us. People are walking by, they will stop, listen to one or two songs, and then continue on their way. But just for me personally, I do want to expand my repertoire. I used to know loads of cover songs back in the day, but I've forgotten everything. And one of the things I've been doing over the past couple of weeks is learning to play covers, new covers, just to develop myself as a musician, to soak up new music into my brain, and also so that I've got something else to play at covers, and yeah, also for busking. Now, my goal for busking is not necessarily to earn money. Yes, some people gave us some money. I think in the end we earned £10 or something like that. But yeah, it's not the goal for me is not to be out there earning money, because to be honest, it's not the most efficient way for me to earn money. I'm a self-employed freelance marketing consultant, and to be honest, the amount of money that I earn from that per hour is so much more than what I can earn as a busker, that it doesn't really make sense to give up that kind of work for busking, as much fun as it is. And I know that I know that there are people out there that make really good money from busking, but those are people that know loads of the popular songs and Ed Sheeran songs and all that kind of stuff, and they have the voice for it. And I don't really have the voice for a lot of those pop songs. I can sing. There's a bunch of pop music that I can sing and that people do seem to enjoy, but I'm not sure I can really pull off, for example, Hosier or stuff like that. So I have my niche, which I'm good at, but I'm not really sure that it's something that I could earn a lot of money from. So why do I go busking? Why am I interested in it? Well, I'm interested in it for two things. One is to connect with real people out there who are not necessarily exposed to much live music. There are loads of people out there that don't really go to gigs, never would go to an open mic, but when they hear live music, they enjoy it. And I've noticed that people will stop and listen to some of the songs, and if I have a sign out with my name, they will take a picture, they will follow me on Instagram. So I think it's a really good way to connect with people and potentially make new friends and new fans. So that's one of the reasons that I'm interested in going busking. And the other reason is to create content, because it's, if you can film yourself out in an interesting location, then that's great social media content. And in fact, we made a video of me performing Look Back and Laugh right on the crossing of Tottenham Court Road, because the other artists eventually left from that spot outside of the main station, and we went there, and we took some great footage. Now, the sound wasn't that great, but I think it's still an interesting bit of content, and it got something like 400 views on YouTube Shorts, which is quite good for YouTube Shorts, for me anyway. And it's a an interesting video, because in the background there's London buses passing by and people walking across the street and taxis, black cabs. So it's a very it you can see from the video that I'm in London, and that's something that I really want to communicate in social media, as part of my artist story, that I am based here in London, and that kind of content is really useful. And even if the sound isn't great for the recording that I put up, it's still footage that I can repurpose and use for other put different music behind and stuff like that. So those are the two reasons I'm interested in busking. Yeah, connect with real people, potentially make friends and fans, and to create social media content. But this means that I can't see myself going out and busking several times a week, because that is time that is better spent by me in other ways, whether that's doing my day job, as it were, to make money, whether that's dedicating time to other aspects of my music career, as it were. And busking has its time and place for me, but it's not going to be a significant part of my income. So I have to really limit it. So for me at the moment, I'm thinking maybe once a week or once every 2 weeks is going to suit me, unless I find maybe that I'm able to draw a large audience, larger than I've done in the past or than I expect. Then maybe I might rethink it. But as I said, I know I've got a decent voice for my genre and for the type of music that I want to make, but I would struggle to really do a Ed Sheeran song justice, or in a way that is really going to hook people in, where people think, "Oh my God, that guy has a beautiful voice and is singing that Ed Sheeran song in such a beautiful way." I don't really think that's that's going to happen. So I have my niche. People do enjoy my music, and there's certainly the opportunity for me out to get fans from it. But yeah, busking has a limited utility for me, and I will treat it in that way unless something changes. Anyway, that's my update for this week. There's a lot going on. As I said, my next video, which will make straight away, is about how I updated my bio. So check that out. And yeah, I will speak to you guys next time with an update on how my single launch went.